Welcome to Strategy Saturday. I'm Charles Carillo, and today we're going to be discussing vacancy and make-ready costs. Have you always wanted to invest in real estate but didn't have the time, didn't know where to find the deals, couldn't get the funding, and didn't want tenants calling you? Since 2006, I've been buying income-producing properties in great locations that provide us with consistent passive income while we wait for appreciation in the future and take advantage of tax laws while we're waiting. And unlike your financial advisor, we invest alongside our investors in every property we purchase. Check out investwithharborside.com. If you like the idea of investing in real estate, if you like the idea of passive income, partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com. Turnover is one of the most expensive parts of owning multifamily real estate. Not only do you have an empty unit that is not producing any revenue, but you're spending money to make it ready for another tenant. Both of these things added together show the true cost of vacancy. So when you're reviewing the financials of an apartment complex, it should break down the actual vacancy and in most cases also the make-ready costs for units. Some properties will lump together the make-ready costs with the repairs and maintenance. But for the purpose of this episode, we're going to say we have a small multifamily property with 5 units. Now, larger stabilized complexes with say 50 units or more will normally use a 5% vacancy rate as their target vacancy rate. Much larger properties that are also stabilized might use a slightly lower number. The smaller the complex, the higher the vacancy number. In most cases, it depends on the class of the property as well and its location. For our example, with a 5-unit property, let's say that 4 of the units turn over every year, and the units are vacant for 45 days each turnover, or 1.5 months. That is a 10% vacancy rate. Only 3 tenants move per year. That is a 7.5% vacancy rate, which doesn't sound bad for a 5-unit complex. However, when you add in the make-ready costs and other expenses, it can become very expensive. What are the other expenses with a turnover? Well, this example, let's assume you're just cleaning and repairing small things, possibly painting. You're going to be cleaning with no major renovations. Now, the total turnover expenses would include all the make-ready. The repairs, the painting, the cleaning, the utilities for the unit during the vacancy, which is electricity, possibly gas, which can get expensive during the winter months in northern locations, the marketing expense for the units. So larger complexes have consistent marketing, but smaller complexes really just advertise as vacancies occur. It's really a start and stop type marketing. Now, the leasing expenses for the unit, if you're using an agent or have a management company, you will need to compensate them, usually a half to 1 month of rent. It's not abnormal for make-ready costs to range from $500 to $1,000 or more, depending on how long the tenants were in the unit for and the condition the unit was left in. A unit that's vacant for just 30 days that normally rents for $1,000 might end up costing the landlord $1,000 to $2,000 plus the cost of the lost month of rent. Now, the silver lining is if the last tenant was paying, say, $850 or $900 a month, and you're now getting a premium of $100 to $150, that is a great rent increase that's going to help you cover some of the turnover expenses when the new tenant moves in. Now, turnover has some other benefits as well. Now, you're able to achieve full market rent since most landlords are behind on rent increases, known as loss to lease. You're able to do a thorough review of the unit. And sometimes this is difficult to get into units and make repairs that otherwise might have been difficult with a tenant living there. If you're performing renovations to the unit during the vacancy, you can plan to recoup your renovation costs in 3 to 4 years. And this vacancy will be a great investment for you, and your property will increase in value, but you need to make the renovations make sense so that the neighborhood can support the renovations and the rent increases. So normally when we're doing rent increases, we're doing renovations, we work off a 3 to 4x kind of payback on those renovations. If we're putting money into a property, say we're putting $5,000 into a property, we want to see that we're getting that money back in 3 to 4 years. And we can figure that out by what our rent increase is with the first new renter. Now, certain renovations I will perform on a unit depending on when the investment is returned. If the renovations will correct any other issues. So I might go a little further. For example, if you had a leaking roof at your property and since then it has been replaced, but it did damage to a kitchen and the tenant is moving out, I might opt to renovate that unit even if the payback is in 5 or 6 years, not 3 to 4. Since you're going to pay to make the repairs either way, you might as well get a return on the work being done, and the repairs alone are not going to really increase your rent. If you're going in there and just patching issues that were done by water, you're not really going to get any increase in rent. If you go in there and actually renovate the unit, renovate the kitchen that was damaged, then you're now going to be able to get some sort of increase on the rent. And even if the payback's a little longer, it's still a good return. So how do you avoid turnover costs? Well, number one is being a tentative landlord. When there are issues or concerns, address them. Even if you're not going to make the upgrades they want, respond. And when there is a real issue, get it taken care of as soon as possible. Be mindful of rent increases. Double-digit rent increases on renewal leases are not going to keep tenants in your units for years to come. They may resign, but once they probably won't stick around after this lease term that they just signed for. When there are vacancies, prepare for them. Start marketing the unit right when the tenants move out. Don't show the unit until it's 100% done, but start the marketing and get your handyman lined up and scheduled before the tenants move out. Once the tenants are out, you want to be in and out within 2 weeks tops and be showing the unit right afterwards. Fully vet tenants, and doing this upfront will ensure you get good tenants. And this is another good thing. You don't want to be having tenants that you put in there and they pay for a few months or they move out and break their lease. And so fully vetting tenants before they move in is going to also minimize your turnover expenses and your make ready. The goal is to keep tenants in your units for 24 to 36 months. Your turnover costs could be divided by 2 or 3 or more, depending on how many years you keep your tenants in there. So if it's a cost $3,000 to renovate a unit with the loss of rent and everything else, the total turnover cost is $3,000. If you can do that every 2 years, now you've got it down to $1,500. And if you can do it every 3 years, now you got that down to only $1,000 a year or like $80 a month. So I hope you enjoy. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, submit comments and potential show topics at globalinvestorspodcast.com. If you're interested in actively investing in real estate, please check out our courses and mentoring programs at syndicationsuperstars.com. That is syndicationsuperstars.com. Look forward to 2 more episodes next week. See you then.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.